Good morning. Hi, and welcome back to my YouTube channel, Midlife Motivation. Thank you again for joining. To recap, if you didn't see my first video, my name is Andrea. I am a 44-year-old full-time single mom. I'm here to share my personal experiences and hope that it'll help motivate. I know that being a woman in her 40s, especially if you're a mom, especially if you're single, it is not an easy path to navigate whatsoever. I have learned that every single experience, both good and bad, is a means of how to navigate life even better. So today I thought, let's touch on dating. I think dating in your 40s needs to be talked about more. It's an experience, all right. And from what I've encountered and experience I've had dating since I divorced, I've been divorced in 2020. Oh my God, I can't believe it's a little over 4 years. But I've been single since 2018. My ex-husband and I, we had separated, and I probably took about 9 before I decided to jump into the world of dating. And every single experience was a learning. It was a learning curve that benefited me in the long run, because if I had not had any of the experiences, I wouldn't have been able to understand myself even better and to understand what is it that I want in a partner that can fulfill my happy cup. My first video, I had talked a lot about filling that happy cup, and that part is so imperative. Whether you're working or being a parent, and the activities that you do and the people you socialize with, that definitely applies to dating. Because if you just settle for a partner because you just want to fill a void, it's not going to end well. It's just, you're going to end up in this psychological warpath with yourself, because you're giving someone else too much power over your emotions. And believe me, from my own personal experience, that is not a fun ride. I've done it myself. I'm very guilty of settling, and I refuse to do that. And the only reason why I can confidently sit here and tell you how imperative it is for you to make better decisions about finding a partner is because I have been through hell and back, and it is not, I don't recommend 0 stars on Yelp. Put yourself first. But the only way that you can do that is to go through your own journey. You have to make quote unquote mistakes. I wouldn't even call them mistakes at this point. They're learning points, okay? Because if we put the narrative out there and we shame ourselves and say, you know what, shame on me for picking this person and staying with them, well, you're not going to develop the strength, the resilience, and the confidence to be like, you know what, okay, yeah, I made bad choices and I was stuck in this pattern. I was attached to this person for the wrong reasons, and that's okay. For a very long time, I had shamed myself. I had, other people in my family shame me for making bad decisions, and it didn't promote personal growth. And it was not until I stopped listening to them, listening to that narrative, and listening to that negative, toxic voice, that I was able to say, you know what, it's okay that I made those decisions, because now I can just create strength and growth from that. I mean, you can choose to get stuck in those patterns, and that's where you need to decide whether or not it is, what you're choosing and who you're choosing to be in your life is a good thing. But when you're choosing somebody that doesn't serve you in every aspect, then you're just shortchanging yourself, and then you're gonna find yourself in this rut or in this pattern, or just feeling unfulfilled, and that's not good for anyone, especially if you're a mom. And I feel like dating in your 20s, or dating when you're younger, you don't have anyone attached to you, is such a different place. It's definitely, for me personally, it's just not affecting me. It's affecting my daughter. And my father lives with me. So I have to consider all those people, and they're absolutely number one, 100%. So, in choosing somebody to be part of your life, it is definitely important to say, okay, is this person that I'm going to potentially get in a relationship with, do they hit certain level standards of quality? Quality check. So my personal, hopefully this helps you, but I do online dating because I don't like to go to bars and pick up people or, events. It's just, I don't have the time to do that. And I personally feel more comfortable being able to vet people online, get their information, and do video chats. So one of the first things that I personally do, just see how they interact with you. They need to be asking you a lot of questions. There's icebreakers, of course. Some people do like the small talk. I'm personally not a small talk person because I kind of just want to get to the point. And if you're dating with intention, if you're dating because you want to eventually find yourself in a committed, loving relationship, then the small talk is just wasting time. So again, this video is not necessarily for everybody, because you're dating in your 40s and you just want to find someone casually. I am not like dogging that whatsoever. In fact, for some people, that's all they need or want out of a relationship. And that's completely fine, obviously. Like, we all have our reasons for why we want to find a partner. But either way, even if it's for, for casual reasons, you want to find somebody that's, hitting the marks and understands exactly what your intentions are. And a lot of people don't make that clear in the very beginning. I feel like the very first few conversations you have should be about, what are your intentions? What are you looking for? Because otherwise you could find yourself, a few days down, a few weeks down, and you meet them and you're not aligned. Then you wasted everyone's time. Or someone just doesn't have, the balls to be like, hey, yeah, this isn't working for me. And I feel like that's really important, is to be able to be confident enough to state what you want. And if it's not working for you, be honest about it. And we're in a culture of ghosting. Not cool. I have been guilty of it, so shame on me. I try not to do that anymore, because I feel like after a certain point, if you exchange phone numbers, met, I think it's just common courtesy to say, hey, you know what, this isn't working for me, and this is why. And I've had people ghost me, and it sucks. Like, it doesn't feel good, but then I say to myself, I'd rather have that not work out now than later when I've, developed more emotions, and then it's a little bit harder to move past it, But I personally feel like, when it comes to dating, you have to prioritize your wants and needs and be clear about that. And I make that really clear up front. I'm a type A person. So, I'm not afraid to show that side of my personality. And if a guy gets scared off, that's his problem, not my problem. I'm not people pleasing. Like, there's no room for that. Like, if you don't like what I'm about, move on, And it took me a really long time to be comfortable enough and okay with that, because I'm in a place now, I don't need a partner. I'm so content with myself, and it took a really long time to get there. It took a lot of pain. It took a lot of tears and being in really bad relationship to be content and happy with myself and to be able to say, I'm alone, but I ain't lonely. It feels really good, because and my friends know, if you guys are watching this, you've known in my past, like, I would jump from relationship to relationship, and you can't understand and learn why that's actually not a good thing until you come to this realization yourself. You have to travel your own journey. Nobody else can put you there. Nobody else can make you come to that. And if you can get there, it'll make finding a partner worthwhile. And when you do find that person, like, it was worth waiting for that. I've gone on several first dates. Backtrack, post-divorce, I was in a lot of short-term relationships because it didn't take long for people to show their true colors, in which case I'd be like, boy, bye. No, done. I mean, they would definitely have serious boundaries that they would cross. And there's been a couple instances where the person, kind of think, maybe one or two instances that I was with, I realized God, the universe, had put him in my path for a reason. He treated me the way I deserve to be treated, that any person deserves to be treated, man or woman. That relationship didn't last. I think it was close to 4 months. But he became close with my daughter, which that part made it really hard. He specifically made time for her 1 day a week to include her in our life and our time spent together. And that is absolutely beautiful. And there's obviously a time and place for when it's okay for you to involve your kid. And I feel like you have to set the rules for that. There's no set timeline, obviously. Like, it's when you're comfortable integrating your kid. I'm like pushing that time frame a lot farther out, because obviously I don't want to get her involved in that part of my life until I'm a lot more certain, or at least it's seemingly like becoming someone's an integral part of my life. But the longest relationship I had post-divorce was almost 2.5 years. That it was on and off, and that taught me so much. And the connection was great in the beginning, and then quickly learned that value sets don't align. But I'm emotionally stubborn, and when I get attached to somebody, it doesn't bode well. And you find yourself in a relationship in a place that's not fulfilling you, and you end up fighting the things that just are not possible. When you find yourself forcing a relationship to happen where your value sets just absolutely align, and that person is not a right fit for you because you're not compatible, you're just inevitably gonna end up hurting yourself. And I had to learn that from myself, actually. Friends, I'm sorry. If you're watching this yet again, you'll learn that I was actually you definitely know who I'm talking about, but you'll learn that I was with that person a lot longer than I want to admit. I was, shamefully with this person way too long, but stepping away from that, I have grown tremendously. Cutting off toxicity in your life will make you grow as a human being. So if you're stuck in a rut, sit back and say, if I step away from this person, and it's someplace that's scary for me because I don't know what it's like to envision them without you, that might mean stepping away from a toxic relationship, especially for that amount of time. You can either be a victim, or you can be like, okay, when you've been with someone for an extended period of time and you have this fear of moving on without them because you're so used to having them in your life. Like, even if it's toxic, or even if it doesn't feel good, if you have this feeling of uncertainty and like, oh my God, I don't know what it's like to not talk to them for a day. Believe me when I tell you, it's the best thing you can do, trust me. I wish I walked away from this person, like pretty much when I started dating them. But there's something that clicked in my mind or my soul, my heart. I was unhealthily attached to somebody that wasn't providing the kind of love that was healthy. And it took a lot of soul searching. It wasn't just disconnecting from that person that helped me find my true self and be comfortable in my own skin and say, okay, these are the boundaries I have in finding a partner. And when they don't meet the base level needs or wants, they're out. Like, I could not have gotten there had I not had these experiences. I'm not saying everybody needs to get in a toxic relationship to arrive to these conclusions about themselves, but any situation, whether good or bad, can be a growth opportunity. I've had a very tumultuous relationship with my mother, unfortunately. I love her, but there's been a lot of growth since I've disconnected with her for some time because I needed to. I needed to grow. I needed to be able to operate mentally, emotionally, independently. And I've always had this relationship with her where I needed her validation. And that did not bode well in how I chose partners and how I perceived love and how I interpreted being validated by somebody as a form of love. And that's not healthy in any way, shape, or form. And I could definitely get more into that. But I just want to help other mamas out there, not feel alone and gain some confidence in being able to weed out the people that are so not good for you. Would rather spend my time doing what I love, like, as I said in my first video, figure skating is a huge thing, but whatever your activity is, spending some time with my kid. And when I need time away from her, I either spend it with myself. I take myself out to dinner. I go to my local tavern. I love it. I know, I've become friends with the owners and the managers and some of the servers. And it's just, I sometimes just want to dine without a child, and that's okay. So I do, or spend time with my friends. I really value my alone time and having the freedom and independence. And when someone does cross my path, that makes it worth my time spending away from my kid, spending away from myself, spending it away from doing what I love, then I know, like, okay, this person is worth investing in. The other thing that I have to say, if your gut is screaming, listen to it. I have so many times not listened to my gut. And it didn't serve me. It definitely compromised my happiness. And, I eventually found out, had I listened to my gut, I wouldn't be, falling on the floor, crying my eyes out and feeling sick to my stomach and having like high anxiety. I haven't had anxiety since I've, removed toxic people from my life. I really haven't. And it feels really damn good, not gonna lie. And I have listened to my gut when it came to dates. And I mean, I'm trying to think. Since that breakup, I've gone on a lot of first dates. I've gone on a couple second dates. But even after first or second date, if something's telling you something's off, there's a reason. Listen to it and move on. Let them know. Sorry, my feelings aren't where they need to be. And you'll thank yourself and it could be some small thing, but that small thing, it paints a big picture. I hope that I've helped other mamas not feel alone and find their confidence if you don't have it already. If you do, kudos to you, share, because anything that can help empower one another and boost each other's confidence, I'm all for it. And we need to help each other because it doesn't have to end in our 40s. That whole stigma, I'm too old for this. No, you're not too old to date. You're not too old to start something new. You're not too old to rediscover yourself. And then at this point, I feel like we've had life experience. We're parents, we're moms, and being able to have this, I guess, sense of confidence in knowing what you want because of the things we've endured should just elevate your ability to weed out the bad people or weed out the things that are not good for you. So I hope that this has been helpful for you. And, if you have experiences you want to share, please do. First and foremost, like I always say, love yourself first. Thanks for listening. Bye.